Sorry, did someone say what? They have 5 people. So. Can I help?
Are you here for the submissions committee or?
Yes, Citizens Advice Bureau.
Next door. Next door.
Over along.
Yeah, so they've got the
Oh, yeah.
yellow flag, yeah.
Right. Tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to the Waitai Community Board Submissions Committee. Everyone and anybody who's watching online, would you like to join me for the Karakia team?
Bear with me till I'm on, I apologise for actually,
That is
I
okay.
don't have it on.
That's all right. Well, I can just lead it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just so that members of the public are aware, the reason why the councillors aren't here, because they are decision makers on this, so we're just making our community board members only submission on 3 matters today. So there's the draft Waitai Coastal Future Transport plan, there's the draft Parks and Preserves bylaw 2025, the draft Trade Waste bylaw 2025, and the draft Dog Control bylaw and policy 2024. That are all board submissions. Do we have any declarations of interest? No? Does anybody have a dog?
Yep.
Yeah, it's not really a conflict of interest, but it's good to note it down just so that we're clear that we're dog owners. So that doesn't mean you can't vote or participate, but just to note down that if you're dog owners or use trade waste or pardon?
Or drive a cat.
Or drive, well, that's an interesting comment with the public. It's slightly different. Yeah.
Well, my fiance has half a dog.
Half a dog.
So better write that.
I think that should be, 1.5 board members.
Yeah. Who has?
The other half of the
So who themselves are dog owners? Okay. Can we just note down that Alex Hewson is a dog owner? Anything else? Cool. All right.
I'm proud of it too.
Well, no, it's not a pet.
No.
Depends on the dog. All right. So would someone like to move that standing orders be temporarily suspended to enable debate to proceed freely regarding item 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the agenda? I think it was moved by Alex.
No, seconded, certainly
Okay,
seconded.
moved by Jackie, seconded by Alex. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against carried. All right. So we'll start with number 3. So I did if you've seen it, I just did a little bit of a draft. The thing that really kind of I very strongly support is removing, allowing people just to dump forever chemicals. So I don't, if you're not aware, there's
Waste bay one first.
the draft future transport. So the main issue, me and the computer are having a bit of trouble adjusting.
Communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that stood out to me in reading, and admittedly I haven't done close reading of the transport plan, is that there's not really any equity concerns. Like there's lots of good stuff in it. Like it's not I don't think it's bad, but it does sort of neglects that access to transport is a huge issue, particularly for certain parts of our community. I'm talking particularly in Burwood and Linwood. There's quite a lot of people who are in the middle of an old subdivision who don't have bus routes, for instance. There's no major cycle route, and they can't necessarily afford to use a car. So that was the thing that stood out to me. Was there anything else that anybody else has noted? I think Joe had her hand
I've got
up.
a process question.
Yes.
In terms of the government's decision to ask councils or regional councils to increase their private share by 70% in terms of income that's coming in, is this an appropriate avenue to raise concerns about that?
I think that we could note that it's especially concerning given
Yeah.
that there's a demand for further, what do they call it? Something box take, fear box recovery. I think that's appropriate for us to note.
Yeah, for a comment at the end.
Yes. So we're just waiting for the computer to,
Sorry about that, I don't know what's going on.
yeah, I will.
Because it seems a bit of a waste of time, even looking at this, if that's gonna be forced upon us.
Ridiculous amount, 70%.
Well, because there was that big reduction of 50%.
But it's not taking that into account.
And then they just want to raise it back up because fare box recovery was a big emphasis in the old public transport operating model, which got abolished, which Stephen Joyce came up with, which is terrible.
Yeah, but even if it went up 50%, it's not gonna be anywhere near much income, is it?
So what I've said so that we wish to be heard on this one. That we think overall that we support it. And then the next one, do you support the draft vision? I said yes, and then I said, well, we support the vision. We would like a reference in it to equity due to transport poverty in East of Christchurch and lack of transport choice for the people we represent. And then I'll just read through it while the computer catches up. And then, do you agree with strategic challenges identified in the Waitai Coastal-Future Transport? Yes. And the comment, inequality is also a strategic challenge and should be referred to. For instance, there are people in some parts of our port area who have no easy access to car, bus, nor a major cycle route, which compounds social isolation and access to services. And then, do you agree with the goals prioritised in the plan? Yes, but equitable access to the transport should be included in the goals. And is there anything else we need to know before deciding whether or not to approve these plans? Just as above, there should be a focus on equitably addressing access to transport options. And just saying the same thing every time, because that.
Do we need to note that we need more money to do that, so you don't take it?
Well, I guess that's the council's challenge, right? And also the regional council and the central government challenge. We are very much in our pure advocacy role here that we can't.
Say how to, yes, what needs.
Yeah, like the mechanism for achieving the plan is to money in different areas, and I guess those comments are, rather than being because it's an overall strategy, the targets commented at specific comments are targeted at the strategy and the goals and objectives. So there's nothing in it that I think, we can, that's objectionable or would undermine anything that we're seeking to achieve for our community, other than it seems to assume that it seems to ignore one of the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to getting around just cost and other barriers.
I was going to add just before about the coastal wood being so long in the isolation from the traffic routes and facilities available from like South Shore all the way through to Brooklands to Waitai area, like a Ruia way. There's a big stretch there that needs that connection still.
Yeah, I guess it's just that you've got one road in, one road out, right? And or in the case of Spencerville, and that you don't have that many people living out there, but it's still an equity issue, particularly for what's that? That small isolated
Brooklands.
Yeah, the Brooklands and that other one. Kainga, yeah.
Yeah, but even for the likes of some of the bus routes and everything that service South Shore and North Beach, they're very irregular and they're not connected in the right the right way, so there's that kind of isolation as well.
Yeah, I mean, the more frequent. No, I'm not, I mean, this is, but I guess it's not the council's role
No.
around bus routes, but it is a big issue. And it's one of the reasons we wanted to comment on the regional or the greater Christchurch plan. This is because irregular and not enough bus routes was a key issue.
But looking into like 30 years into the future, these places will still exist. But getting towards the end of the line with some of them. Right?
Mm.
30 years isn't a long time in the great span of them.
Well, one thing that I have wondered about also is that we don't have permanent designations in the district plan for public transport. You know, like if you want to just like for instance, it's not part of this as such, but the light rail that's supposed to be going up Upper Road and Rickenham Road, there's no designation currently in the district plan to protect those corridors, which seems a bit, which they could have done, put in corridors in the district plan when it was reviewed after the earthquake. What do you think?
I think one of the big mistakes they made with putting the new expressway north was there's no entrances or very limited entrances and exits along the route between we've got fanfare sort of into town, into Paper Street. So it's only about 2 that they can get off and on. And it even isolates those communities further when they haven't got an exit or entrance close to them to access.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the fast state highways is that they prioritise the movement of traffic through, you know, to ports and things like that. They're not really for the people who live there, which is a real shame.
After the quake, there was quite a few smaller vans, 12 seaters or whatever they were, that were doing the bus routes.
Oh, the red buses.
Yeah, I remember
Bus.
those. You know, bus patronage, this is a crazy thing, I mean, bus patronage in Christchurch has just got up above where it was for earthquakes finally. Now they're looking at more farebox recovery. So that's going to drive some people. Apologies to the member of the public who are listening to our recorded, we're just having some technology problems. I think we seem to be broadly agreed on the transport stuff. That the main issue is access. The next one, and we can just come back, is that I didn't see anything on the draft parks and reserves bylaw that I think we need to get, because it's really just updating it for integrating and updating it. I didn't see anything. Did anyone else notice anything?
No, it's more legal, technical stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, so I don't think we need to submit on that one.
The one thing I did notice with that was around, I suppose it's technicality, scooters through the likes of the Botanic Gardens. I mean, you could technically say that someone who's broken their legs using a knee scooter is not allowed into that space.
I think it. Maybe. Is it called a knee scooter?
When you go to the hospital, they do.
Yeah.
That was the only one that sort of stood out as I say, a technicality. I don't think someone's going to call them out on it.
No.
But it is
When they
something.
do, they'll be there.
Yeah, it's just the only thing that sort of stood out to me that was potentially a very small issue.
Do we want to make a submission on that?
I think it's just whether it includes having accessibility aids, maybe.
I think
allowed.
so. I mean, there'll be a specific, obviously, carve out for wheelchairs and accessible.
Yeah.
So we could say something like that. We don't want to be heard, but we just have to comment that we need to make sure that what you call accessibility devices.
Mobility aids.
The mobility aids, that's where we want mobility aids.
Need to be careful that way in case people abuse. There's a technicality there. Could be the other way as well.
Yeah, it's not the standard thing you're gonna find out at the shop though. You can buy them at shops, but.
Yeah.
Generally, you're not gonna find them just lying around in someone's backyard.
No.
You've got to have one for a reason to start with.
Yeah.
And if you purposely want to go there just to ride your knee scooter, it's probably other places.
Okay, so I'll just say, need to clarify that mobility aids are exempted from restrictions, e.g. wheelchairs and knee scooters. Are we there?
Mostly, we've got to work around.
You got to work around?
Yeah, so we're just guest input for the submissions and then live streaming on the main computer.
Okay,
So happy to go back to the beginning if you are.
yes, we'll go back to,
Transport strategy.
yes, transport, okay, transport. So board wishes to be heard.
Yep.
We do support the future transport policy.
Okay.
The comment as it is there, do we, that was really the, we could add, that, just to a second paragraph that, access to, what it was, that access for communities at the extremities of the coastal ward, is an ongoing challenge. That the board wishes to ensure that the council considers in its decision making.
Thank you.
Decision making.
Okay, and the next one, just nothing, I don't think there's anything else you wanted to change or add from there.
No.
Okay, so that one's done.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
Second one.
the second one is the parks and reserves, and so we just wanted to add,
Park reserves.
yeah,
So it does not.
does not wish to be heard. And then just, well, the bylaw needs to be clear that mobility aids are exempted
Exempted.
from restrictions, e.g. wheelchairs and knee scooters. Knee scooters sounds much more fun than it is.
No, not
You've got to
e-scooters, the next scooters.
And that's it.
Knee, not e,
Scooters.
knee, knee.
A knee on it.
Oh, I know, I get you.
Oh, them lazy ones.
Oh, do you think I was just meaning like?
Oh, the easy, I've got the ones with the chairs on.
No,
Oh,
knee for.
No, mobility scooters are the one.
I get you now. I see those.
Probably,
Knee.
that's the one.
Thank you for clarifying my special need.
And then the next one is trade waste. So,
Trade waste.
yeah.
Okay.
So I've said, as you'll see up there, that we wish to be heard. We're not sure, I just don't know the science around the, you know, how, what,
No, it's technical.
it's technical, right? So, but
With
then,
regards to that particular one there is quite a difference within different industries as to what it relates to. And to me, if you have an industry as a business and it has a discharge that's in the trade waste, like for myself, my background was heavy metals. The ability to go and just put in, you don't go off the shelf and buy something to change what you put in. I mean, changing to like 17% of the current regulation is a huge investment. And if you just try and find something that just fits, you're not doing the best solution. And it's a 12-month compliance period from when the bylaw changes. It's a huge undertaking to design, manufacture and install something which will take well over 12 months to do that sort of thing. And dropping to that amount to start with is a huge cost. I'm not saying over time it shouldn't reduce, but to have such a short time frame is completely unrealistic for a business to undertake. And there's so many different broad varieties of them.
I think, I mean, because again, it's not something, but I think we can say that the board, something like the board strongly supports the targets for reducing the what's the term, the suspended solid limit. But urges consultation with particularly with small business around how
Achievable.
and how if it's achievable within the 1 year.
As a blanket rule, I don't believe it works. There's just too many variations in there to be able to pick one figure. I'd asked a question through Cindy and had the information come back, and it was around certain things. Yes, your requirements for those are much lower, but because they're within that suspended solid, you are not able to fit that category. So while you're meeting the trade waste bylaws, you now have to have something else that drops down considerably because you have something else that's under the bylaws, but you don't fit because of the category that sits into.
So
So just a blanket description of everything. Does it, while it seems good in theory, it doesn't work across everything.
So the board strongly supports the targets. However, urges, so just take the dash out, yeah, consultation with small businesses about what's the time, lead-in time, or what's the term?
It was 12 months compliance from when the bylaw passes.
Yes, about how much,
Realistic.
about a realistic compliance.
Yeah, it's a reduction over time makes sense, but to suddenly say, yep, I think it was expected if it does go through to be September next year, but a full wastewater treatment system, it's taken us 2 years to do something at Bromley. How can you expect a small business to do that inside that timeframe? It's just not a realistic thing when the council can't sort the first part.
You know, and I guess I always go to it's like, you know, big business has the ability to adapt to regulatory change very quickly. Whereas small business, it's much more difficult. It's not that we don't strongly support the target, we just need to understand the impact on people in small business.
If it was a gradual reduction over a period of, say, 5 to 10 years, that makes time to build it into the process and research and have things done, because every situation is going to be unique to that site for a lot of different people.
How about we just leave that top line and just delete the one underneath?
So you would have been doing the best you can, eh?
Yeah, you do, because you have to pay for whatever your wastewater is anyway. So you always try to, I mean, a lot of the time you can actually reduce what you're putting through the system or just pumping more water in because you're diluting it with the amount of solution you've got. But so then you're still putting the same amount of stuff into the system. You're just putting more water with it. So you pay more in water rates and water charges. So it's having to understand that you're trying to do better by your whole environment and how you can do that functionally. It's quite a difference.
The thing is, we ultimately want people to be putting less of the thing into the water.
Yeah.
You know, rather than more water plus the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can make it fit.
Make it 1%, hey?
You could make it 1%.
I think it would be really good, Greg, if you could have a chat with whoever has been involved in making this bylaw, because you have some expertise.
Or our councillors even.
Yeah, councillors. Well, it's like, because we don't want these chemicals in and the water and in the rivers and everything, but we are here now. How do we get to where we want to be?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, the separate part of that too is a lot of the stuff that they charge you for, they don't actually treat, because they did say they don't have the ability to treat some of that stuff. So it's a little charge to treat something that isn't actually treated.
Right. Well, I guess it's charging.
It's
I mean,
a disincentive.
there's one thing you wanted to disincentives are one thing, but then which I'm fine with, but needs to be a disincentive rather than charging for something you're not doing. Yeah.
I remember about 30 years ago, going on a school trip to the.
No, I know you mentioned this before, Tim. I think it was a highlight of your education.
It's a different one. And they telling the kids about what gets done and that, and 99% gets treated. And I said, is that all? This guy goes, what do you mean? It's 99%. Well, 1% of what goes through there is huge. It's massive.
So, and moving on, I'm really feels very strongly about these forever chemicals. I don't know if you've watched, there's a movie about what happened with DuPont in West Virginia. Where this was in the water of people and
The water,
yeah,
acid.
yeah, I forget what it was now, but C8 or C9 or something. Yeah, it was really bad. And they're carcinogenic and endocrine disruptors. Like we cannot just put them in our and trade waste discharge. It has to be dealt with differently. There's not a lot of it in New Zealand. Like there's a few, like and I think some of it is in like what do you call it, fire suppressant or something. But I think that's about it. So around like former Air Force bases, I think is the only places. I might be wrong. It might be another thing. So nobody disagrees with that. So for dewatering activity, support proposed changes to clarify the need for a trade waste consent in some circumstances. I hadn't written anything there, but it just seemed to be that yeah, you should need.
Shouldn't need explanation.
It shouldn't need an explanation, so I don't think we need to comment. And then in terms of the next one I just said, so that's proposed changes to support application process decision, blah, blah, blah. Just said yes and provides clarity and certainty. And then the maximum duration for permitted consent for all permitted consents. I just said no, we should have discharge consents that last forever. As science and technology develop, and this goes back to kind of what you're saying, when science and technology develop, the ability to eliminate or mitigate discharges should improve.
Yeah, the flip side is what compliance is going to have to come in. If everyone that has consents that are already there and existing and don't have to be relooked at, how many more people are going to be required when there's already delays in consenting on certain stuff? But that needs to be put into consideration at the same time, that you've got potentially thousands of extra consents need to be redone. They're all going to come up at the same time to start with. And then they're going to come up again in 10 years' time at that point. What steps are being taken as
That's
if that been considered?
Well, I guess we could raise that. I mean, it's an operational matter, but if you we could say in the next line, however, this will require
Resources.
additional staff resources
Staging.
and potentially
Yeah.
will need staging.
There could be certain industries at certain times. Say it's food industry here, and then it's something else here, and
Yeah.
so you've got almost like an annual thing. Yes, you specialise in that particular field for a 12-month period.
Just do it by risk, right? You do the highest risk industries first, you prioritise those and
They'll take the longest.
Huh?
They'll take the longest.
Yeah.
So you're going to miss all the other ones at the same time. So it's kind of a bit of both. You only do one thing, you can't resolve.
That's true too, isn't it?
You can do some of the ones that are really bad. Yep, you can totally have to do them as well.
Mm.
But you might have 95% of everything that's going to be straightforward. If you're only doing that 5%, it could be 7 years before you actually get to the other 95%.
So, and then for the tank and water discharge, I just said yes, it's the same. And I didn't bother explaining it because it just regulating it seems to make sense. Everyone happy with that one? All right, thank you. We'll move on to the dog control bylaw. I put down that we wish to be heard with the submission. As the dog owner of the one owner of a full dog, do you have any comments on this, Alex?
I'm happy to go through it with the board.
So I've just said, on, we wish to be heard, next one, proposals to require dogs on short leash on footpaths, shared paths and formed tracks and green space areas where dogs are allowed. said yes, comma, mostly. And then as long as very clear the dog's able to be off the leash under effective control when off the paths, because I don't know if everybody's going to see that, just come to you in a sec. And then the board is not convinced that there should be a blanket, so this is my view, obviously. Board's not convinced that a blanket rule regarding formal tracks on the flat outside areas of ecological significance, that there should be. Not convinced there should be. Consistency is a desirable goal, but the removal of all those formal paths for free running dogs is a significant loss for dogs and their owners. It's like, at the moment, like, and I have not owned a dog in Christchurch, but if you're in an area, and there's a form, you know, like a gravel path or something, you know, you can walk your dog along that, but your dog can run onto the path and over again, right? But under this, you would, if your dog went from one side of the path to the other, you'd technically be breaking the law. Are you going to say something else?
Just around the first line around being very clear about under effective control. I think that's something that the board and residents, I mean, even board members have struggled with what actually under effective control really means. And I really don't think there's enough emphasis on that at the moment. So any way that we can make that line even clearer. Yeah, but on parks, at parks, it just says effective control, there's nothing more. And unless people are going to go and look it up, which they're walking their dog, probably not.
When you apply for a dog license, I'm assuming that you get something that tells you that.
An email with people.
Every year when you have to register, you get the link for the details and everything.
Yeah, but it's in the form of a link, so quite a lot of people don't read that. I also think we've had quite a lot of switched on residents that have been concerned about whether or not a dog needs to be under effective control in this area or not. I think if we can emphasise just the importance of highlighting what under effective control is and where it is, any chance we can to improve that, I think is really important to raise.
Do you want to add, so after paths, can you come up with some words?
Board highlights the need for increased education around this issue.
Increased education
Around
around what effective control means.
and where it is.
And where it is required. Cool.
On that as well, for me, the short leash only doesn't, like, because some dogs will be on a short leash and others are loose. There's the in-between, we have a long lead that runs out 4 or 5 meters, and that, to me, is, you've only got 2 options, there's not that in-between option that's allowed, and if you're walking on a track somewhere where the dog's allowed to be off its lead, but your dog is not easily recalled, you're now restricted to only a short leash.
Breaking the law.
So you're breaking the law by having a dog that has the freedom. You still have control of your dog, but you're not able to give that dog the freedom without you walking through all the trees or around the sides of things and stopping constantly.
What's the definition of a short leash?
It states.
So it says
I
1
think,
point, oh,
was-
they were going to shorten the lead to 1.5 meters. From any length to 1.5 was in
So you like.
their
5 meters.
submissions. But there's a difference between like someone your height holding a 1.5 meter lead and someone Jackie's height holding to a dog. But you know, there shouldn't have to be a restriction of 1.5 because it's very, very short when you do have a tall person and a short dog.
So what
So-
do you think the lead restriction should be?
Well, at least 2.
So, you know, I walked around the Mitre 10 and there was some people in there with their dog on a 5-foot lead and most of the lead was actually on the ground and they almost took me out twice in shock.
When I stood at the shops.
I've seen it as well.
And it's like, why do people feel the need to take their dog shopping? Oh,
I guess
It's a bit off topic, isn't it?
It is a question that I don't know the answer to, Jackie.
I'm just thinking about that lead,
but
what is the right
what
lead for
about-
the lead?
So those, you know, isn't it more about being able to have the lead needs to be reducible to that size? You know what I mean? Like,
They do.
Yeah, well, that's right.
If
So
you got an extended one, it can be.
you could change it to,
Maximum colours.
you could add to it in brackets or reducible to 1.5 meters.
Yeah, because all the extended ones come down to like 200, 300 mil.
But you think, just thinking about the dog panel, we call it dog control panel, I think we're on. If someone came in and something happened and their lead was 2.5 meters, not 1.5 meters, the dog control aren't gonna give a damn about that, are they?
But it's when it's got,
Visibility.
you've got a responsible person who follows things to the letter of the law. Currently, they walk a dog on a 5 meter lead, the dog's well behaved on their lead, but doesn't come back when you call it, so that they have to be on that. Suddenly, they are restricted because they see the law as a certain way.
Yeah.
Because we've got to allow for that person as well as saying the person who's not a responsible owner, that's why the rules are in place,
Yeah.
generally to cover those people. So we've got to make sure we're protecting the people that are responsible as well.
So we're, just in terms of, in this submission, we could just say in the first bit, oh no, and it's in the second bit, the short leash. We could say, yes, but then we could say, because actually dog owners, just from the consultation, mostly support this.
So you're saying yes, comma.
But yeah, so it's yes, yes,
But.
yes, yeah, yes dot, yes full stop.
That's a.
Oh, no, sorry,
it's
so that's
yes,
different. Yes, there's
don't
no
mind
much,
maybe.
okay, new line.
Yeah.
The board suggests,
This is particularly just for green spaces, like
yeah,
roadside, different story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's in green space.
suggests that,
First bit's fine.
what is it, how we, that leash, retractable leashes. Provided they are reducible to 1.5 meters. Be permissible within green spaces. And on paths.
I don't know if we need to specify length. I
Well,
mean, that's fine. I mean, to say maybe it should be 2 meters or whatever, I think, because the dog control people are gonna have.
I think it's just because that was the short leash.
yeah, but you know, like in terms of if you're going to write a law, you're going to do a bylaw or any kind of law, it's better to leave it to be specific about.
Yeah. I need to be specific, but when it comes to an incident.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know that's not going to.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, I think one of the things that one of the bits of information in the actual text was that they were getting feedback on the lead bin. Have we not got that as a question?
I think that is
that
the question.
they have consulted on all of these things. I don't recall anything specifically about the lead.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that 1.5 is quite a short length.
Well, we could say reducible to what's to an
Yeah, but
appropriate length.
that's just an extendable one, but if you've just got an average plain lead that you buy anywhere,
Well,
and usually if you buy one, say at the $2 shop, they're a lot
Yeah.
longer than one that you buy
Like-
somewhere else.
yeah, I guess it's
So,
trying to get a compromise there, because if somebody because not that many people have a lead that's longer than 2 meters for a non-retractable lead, right? Like I do see, the only people I see with leads that are really long that aren't retractable ones are people who have ropes, and they're probably not the
Oh,
best
yeah.
leads anyway. So
I think, it could come into a bylaw that the lead has to be 1.5,
yeah,
exactly, so I think there needs to be leeway on it.
yeah. Well, I guess we could say to an appropriate length.
Yeah, that's better. Otherwise you take your
No,
2 meter ones.
Well, you
down
just
to-
sorry, Joe, you took
Someone
that
who's
separately as a
spoken
new
not
line,
flexible will make it-
or you took that in the retractable sense.
And as separately as a new
Separately, yeah.
line, Because how long's your lead, Alex?
But we should.
We'll check it off,
Okay,
but I do agree.
but I know from when our dog was alive, we had several leads and they're all different leads.
Yeah, so the next one, next line, we should say, what is it precisely you're wanting to say?
They're considerably.
The recommended one by is too restrictive, maybe?
Is too restrictive, for
Oh,
well,
yeah, and this is a good.
for people and dogs of different heights and dogs of different sizes.
What breeds, sizes, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you,
Size covers all, yeah. How's that?
I think just like if you've got someone that's going to get ticketed or reprimanded about the lead.
Yeah.
It's just getting a bit
But-
ridiculous,
but I think-
especially if the dog is on the lead and
Yeah,
it's
well,
I don't think they will.
It's a bit, I mean, I think it is one of those things when, you know, with the enforcement. Somebody who is, repeatedly, well, because, you know, they follow that vague model, right? So if they go in and somebody, not gonna ping someone, but if somebody is repeatedly causing issues with their dog on a
That's what
long
they
lead,
can use.
that's what they can use.
Yeah, or they can find someone else
Yeah,
and say, well, he's breaking all these rules.
Yeah, that's true.
so I see,
Just made a few tweaks there, Paul, just
Yep.
so the whole thing flows a bit
Yep.
better. So just under the comment tab, for the first point that you had made, I've said yes, comma, mostly, but there is room for error. And then the 2 points as per Alex and Joe's
Yeah.
suggestion.
no, that's good.
And then the last one for Joe's, the board notes that the recommended 1.5.
Yep. And then, do you support proposal for the Otago Avon River corridor? I said, not sure.
No, that's right. I'm not sure either.
I said, and it said the board suggests general lease rule for formed pathways does not apply in the OARC outside wildlife areas. Because I mean, I've only had one contact about this, but it's a very different kind of space than the other, and it's new, and you know, personally, I'm not affected by this, right? But I do think that having had dogs, and there are some, when you go to areas that are not really developed and they're not actual, like, we used to go out the back of an industrial area and there were a few paths and stuff, but they're not like, it's very different to like a park, something like that.
I also just want to highlight that we've had quite a lot of issues with barley grass at the moment as being properly maintained. So that's also something that comes into account when you think about the fact that mowed grass tends to be often barley grass in there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the council doing it, but as well, so that was my view, having considered what feedback that I'd received and my own experience. But you know, I wouldn't want to say that we're not protecting the wildlife, but there are some of those areas that they're just old residential areas that are continuing to evolve, they're being planted and stuff, but outside those areas.
Well, they're talking about just the river corridor and wetlands close by, but we're going to have the new city to sea pathway and people wanting to walk there with their dogs. Dogs like to run around in the neighbouring red zone. I hope that will be open for that kind of activity because it's perfect. And I know our dog used to love jumping in the river, going for a bit of a swim, and it more or less stayed away from the wildlife.
Yeah,
I was kind of scared of it.
Alex?
I also have a question about this because it says that we're proposing to regulate by prohibiting dogs and then to protect wildlife while continuing to allow dogs off leash under effective control. Is there any
On the mowed grass area.
Yeah, is there any sort of leeway for having dogs leashed, or is that covered by the first point above it?
Well, it would be,
Because it's saying dogs leashed and then off a leash and under effective control in grass areas. Potentially if you leash dogs through some of the walkways.
No.
No?
There's a reason it's even a leash dog
Yeah,
going
but
through.
while maintaining that outside wildlife areas.
yeah, so you just say in the areas that are not so in the grass areas where there is a formed path, so not, but that's not a sealed path or something, that's a formed path, then people could have their dogs can be running around under effective control. Joe?
It would be really nice, it would be really nice to actually have certain areas along
Yeah.
that are dog specific parks.
Yeah, I guess we could say the board also suggests development of dog parks.
Don't have to be fenced in, do they?
Dog spaces.
In the OARC.
That's come up previously with the red zone team and they said it's not for dogs.
Red zone's not for them.
No, it's for wildlife. And they wouldn't be putting a dog park in there.
Interesting.
In the
Yeah,
original
resident-
plans, there were spaces for dog parks.
Yeah, we had residents contact us about putting one in near the Edendale Road Bridge. And was told, no, it won't be going there because
I don't necessarily mean dog parks though, but spaces where you can exercise.
this was a dog park that was fenced, so again, the one that could easily have a space to run around.
Yeah, right.
Manner.
Like I it is a balance because like I think that dogs, all dogs are predators. They do like to chase things.
Which is where a dog park's
Yeah.
fantastic, because it's a contained, controlled environment.
But also like people, human beings love their dogs, and dogs. I think we need to balance the interests, but I think we should go further toward and this is going very much in the.
Oh, I totally support having dog
Yeah.
parks in there. I'm just saying that was the advice that we were given.
I'm questioning right now, I'm just a bit confused, so if this goes ahead as the question says, could you walk your dog from one end to the other from the city to sea pathway?
Yes.
Yeah.
On the path.
But what if you're on the path, right, so wildlife areas won't encroach onto the path as well? Okay.
Be careful on your bike, though, because 1.5 meters is not long.
The one you ran down.
So and then the next one, with the Waitai, like where we have ground nesting birds, some of them are of global significance. I think it's very important that we do act to protect the Waitai.
Very different spaces.
It's like we already are.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of discussion about this through the South Shore Residents Association and with the Eco Trust as well, because of the estuary edge in the spit. And having the penguins nesting at the end of the spit and other wildlife or godwits. So they're very, very aware of trying to do something to regulate the dog control down that end. But they still want the ability to, as I said, to continue to walk on a grass edge.
Which is covered.
This would allow that.
Yeah. So we just want to ensure that that can still be regulated, but
Yeah. So
the main part is within the actual tip and the vegetation at the end.
yeah, I mean it's in the text,
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
that's good. So that's good. So the next one, I mean Takuru wetland, so that's in Kashmir Valley. By just down from Westmoreland, so there's a new subdivision there which has a big water detention basin which holds back water from the Heathcote. And it's I guess my reaction to that and trying to seek some balance as well, it would depend on the basin. Like Takuru is like, I haven't been there for a while, it's on the way to the adventure park. It's still not, it's still got, seems to be a long way to go, so, but I guess they want to make it quite a significant one. But I said, look, there may be, so I said generally for wetlands, it depends on the stormwater basin, there may be some where dogs are not an issue. Just as a, I can think I mean, even if they start from the blanket, assuming no dogs, they still need to be able to consider whether it's appropriate. Does anyone have any comment on that one? All right, so the next one is limit the number of dogs a person can be in effective control of. I have to say that I very strongly think that that's important, because I just do not, having had two reasonably big dogs, and trying to control them in some circumstances is very difficult. You need to be very, very skilled person to control more than two off the leash, and women. Even 4 when leashed is quite a lot. I mean, obviously, if it's the size of Chris's dog, might be all right. But Alex.
Yeah, I support with everything you've said, but I also know that there is also an exemption process. So if
Yes,
people are
yes.
needing it as a business, they've got avenues to pursue to further. I think is really supportive of this.
Yeah, cool.
I agree with, like, Alex's comment, but at the same time, it can't be prohibitive for someone who's a dog walker to, the steps to have to take to get those activities. Can't make it too much. And again, like the consent stuff, you've got to have it so it's going to be done, because there's a lot of people that do that with a job. So a straightforward process to be able to actually manage that needs to be considered.
So I think we could say the exemption process should not be onerous on people who depend on walking dogs for their income, or
Dogs.
or well-being.
Small dogs is quite different to 5 stations.
Not often either. Imagine that.
Do we have, is there any more to this? What's there? I didn't have any comments on any other changes. Does anybody else have any?
Just in regards to, there was a lot of feedback that the board received in the last few years from the residents' associations about activity on the beach with the dogs and more regulation and signage. But the signage that Alex brought up before about being more specific about under effective control is something that when we actually say exactly what it means in a easy to read format on a sign, then it's going to be more beneficial to actually help people understand where they can go and can't go, especially during these months when it's restricted between the surf clubs.
So we could say the board requests.
I actually have something I want to take onto the same line if possible.
Yeah.
Because under effective control specifically we've already raised as well. But like rules like carrying dog bags, which is you have to carry if you're going for a walk. People don't know about that. And I know that there's a link at the bottom of your email when you register your dog, but people don't read it. So if we can maybe, if Joe's all right, in that line sort of just talk about the need for emphasis and education and signage.
Well, I guess the board requests clear signage outlining. So clear signage at entrances, at all entrances.
Or even like when you go into like the forest, for example, like Bottle Lakes, a really popular recreation venue for people walking their dogs through as well. So beach and forest, and I suppose any park, just having the clear signage.
Yeah, clear signage to request clear signage at all entrances to parks, reserves, beaches and forests regarding obligations of dog owners.
Notably under effective control, including but not limited to
e.g.
dog poo bags.
E.g. being effective control, being an effective
Carrying
control and poo sacks, no, poo bags, what do you call them?
Poo bags.
Poo bags? poo bags, I'm looking forward to saying
And
that.
carrying, because that's what specifically.
Well, separate bags.
And one thing that, a lot of people are saying is that they don't think there's enough enforcement going on.
Yeah. The board,
Emphasise the need to.
the board, the board also notes the need for, visible and, frequent enforcement.
Yeah, that's cool. They quite often see a dog being parked on the side of the road, but they don't often see them at the access points.
Yeah, I am, as I think I noted, I did see last summer, I did see some, enforcement. Seemed like a very difficult conversation. All right, so that is that. So if we, would someone like to move that standing orders set aside above be resumed? Moved by Jackie, seconded by Greg. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right, so shall we, there was, there's no dissent, so we might as well move all of these motions together. So would someone like to put that? Joe was first, seconded by Alex. All right, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right, well, that ends our submissions committee meeting, and then we've got a window for our information session starts at 3:30.
Run.
Yeah.
So just for the board, for the submissions committee's information, by Monday, I'll have the first draft sent to Paul for final approval, with a view to having that finalised by Thursday next week, so I can submit them next Friday, the latest.
Right, I'll close off I was going to close with the karakia. Do you want to, kia tau, te rangi marie, o te rangi, tu iho nei, o papatu anuku, tātou nei, o te tai au, i ahi nei, ki runga ia tātou, tika